Welcome to Season 2 of TVGP's Critical Misses, where we're, for this season again, watching all the hits we've missed. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpier.
Hello.
And for Season 2, we're going to talk about the Oceans films. Previously, it was just the Oceans trilogy, and now there's an additional one. Number 8. The fourth one.
Yes.
You know.
Let's talk about naming conventions again.
Yeah. So we're the first one here is 2001's Ocean's 11, which is a movie that I believe both of us have seen already.
Yep.
Not
a long time, but yes.
Yeah, I feel like we are of an age that literally everybody watched this movie when it came out. I would be surprised if there was anyone our age that was like, "Oh, I've never seen Ocean's 11." It's like, you sure? Because like it's always on TBS and it's a VHS and DVD everybody had. Like everyone has seen this movie.
And it was also came out right around the George Clooney and Brad Pitt zeitgeist as well.
Yes. And like they're both together in a movie. Whoa. Yeah, I feel like so much of it was fueled by the twist. You know, like it's a heist movie, so of course something is gonna be like, oh, there's like a big reveal at the end. In years since this movie, I feel like I have gotten grumpier about people talking about like, oh, you have to see this movie, it has such a good twist. It's like, well, you already spoiled it then. Like,
yeah,
I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, as much as I hate to be that guy, this movie is great. It has a solid twist. It's
just like
really,
come on, man,
go away. Just don't tell me that, because then the twist becomes not a twist.
Right, you're always like, you're holding your breath for the whole movie, and they're like, that twist wasn't that great. And it's like, yeah, it was, but you know,
it's why like when movies like Get Out come out, and you just like, the best thing people say is go see Get Out. No, nothing.
Yeah,
just go and see Get Out.
Don't read anything about it. Don't watch the trailers. You should go see it. Yeah, and I feel like so much of what makes heist movies great is just watching the twists and turns, because no heist story can ever go well where it's like, oh, we laid out the plan. Oh, that went okay. Credits. It's just like, no, there has to be, you know, there has to be something horrible going at every opportunity. And I one thing I remember, I don't remember a ton about this movie, but one thing I do remember is like something bad happens to each and every member of the cast, and watching them kind of twist and turn to get out of it, I remember enjoying quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it has such an all-star cast too.
Yeah, that was one of the big things that came out when you saw this thing advertised. It was just like, hold up a minute.
There's 15 names on the poster, and you're like, God, all of them have been in everything.
And literally in everything. It's just like, and it's not even just like, it's not just like, you know, two of the modern stars, which it did have in George Clooney and Brad Pitt. I mean, you've also got Julia Roberts is in there.
Right.
The old fella who I can't remember the name of is in there, and he's fantastic as well. Like, it's just such a who's who of Hollywood royalty.
It'll pull up the Wikipedia article here.
Yeah. Other guys.
Yeah, Casey Affleck, who I feel like has been in some interesting stuff. Matt Damon, who I always forget is in this movie until he pops in. But I was like, that's Matt Damon. That's Chappie.
Yeah. He's the George Clooney wannabe, isn't he? Like, he's George Clooney's protege, I believe.
Yeah, he very much wants to be like a George Clooney type of guy, and he's just never cool enough to do it. Andy Garcia's in it. Carl Reiner is in it.
That's the guy I was thinking of.
Don Cheadle, Scott Conn, Bernie Mac, who I also always forget is in this movie, but he's pretty good.
I know Don Cheadle for one reason and one reason only.
Oh no, what's that?
From this movie specifically is what I'm talking about. It's the scene with the EMP.
Yes.
where he has the biggest EMP you've ever seen, and then he turns away from it and covers his crotch as he sets it off. It's like that's gonna matter.
And God, that accent he has in this movie too is just so bad. Oh man. Yeah, I feel like this was one of those movies that just kind of captured, like you said, the zeitgeist all at once. You know, like Fight Club did around the time too, where it's just like, God, man, you gotta see this. Like, I was in college for this. And it was very much like, man, we gotta go see this. Look, everybody's in this movie. Look at how cool this looks.
Yeah, and it's Steven Soderbergh directing it as well.
Yep.
Who was right in the process of making a huge name for himself with things like, oh, I don't know, Aaron Brockovich and Traffic.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of stuff he's done.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to remember anything else from this movie. I sort of remember the big twist at the end. It's not really a twist, but like the big reveal. But I kind of don't remember how everything gets put in place to get to that point, because like you said at the top, I don't remember the last time I've seen it. It maybe been like 10 years.
Yeah, it's been much longer than that for me. Like, it's been so much longer than that for me. I'm thinking probably at least maybe 20 years for me since the last time I've seen this. Like, when it came out,
yeah,
was the last time I saw it.
Like, maybe when it came home on DVD, you're like, oh yeah, we'll rent that, because that was a thing at the time. Yeah, and I feel like this is one of those movies I'm going to watch it and kick myself and be like, I should be watching this way more often, because this is... I remember really liking it, and I don't know why I haven't seen it more since.
Yeah, I'm curious if it holds up, because it's well-renowned as one of the best heist movies of all time. I don't know if that still holds up, because in my opinion, one of the best heist movies of all time is Fast Five.
That's right.
Which kind of changes the game when it comes to heist movies a little bit.
That's right. Yeah, I think we probably won't see what we saw from the first Fast and Furious, where it's still very much a 90s movie. I feel like this movie, from what I recall, was sort of paying homage to the original, so it was a little bit timeless and kind of cool, but without being like, look at these flip phones, you know, like it didn't really have any of that stuff. Like, it was trying to be a little more grounded.
Yes. I think, if memory serves, I think Andy Garcia is the bad guy in it. I'm pretty sure he's solid as a really good villain as well.
Yeah, I remember him being like quietly menacing. Like, he's not really like mustache twirling or anything, but just sort of like, yeah, you probably don't want to mess with that dude.
Yes, I remember that much. The thing that gets me with this kind of movie is so many heist movies before and after, and everyone has their own personal favorites. Like I said, Fast and Furious is one of my favorite. Fast Five specifically is an amazing heist movie.
It's hard to beat it.
Italian Job is a great heist movie, even though it's terrible, the remake. And I actually really like the original Italian Job as well. Like, that's a fantastic heist movie too.
Yeah, I don't know if I've seen it, but I would probably like it.
Very English. It's because it was made in, like, I think it's set around the '66 World Cup, and it's a very English kind of movie.
Right.
And it's genuinely a fantastic dumb like movie, and it's got what's his name? Alfred in the Nolan Batman movies. You know who I'm talking about.
That guy.
Yeah. It's got that guy in it. It's a great movie, but it's one of those things. It's like, I haven't seen that in years as well.
Yeah.
It's like, does that hold up? Like,
right.
It's like, I love a good heist movie, but how often can you watch something until the magic's gone? And then if you only watch it once or twice, does that magic last longer than it really deserves to?
Well, and that's one of my concerns for this series that we're covering here in season 2, is sort of like, they clearly, I guess, sort of capture lightning in a bottle with 11. And I remember watching 12. I remember very little of 12. And I remember watching 12 and thinking, like, that was good. And I remember watching the first half or so of 13 and being like, okay. Like maybe you're going back to the well one too many times.
I I definitely haven't seen 13. I haven't seen 8,
Yeah,
and
I haven't seen 8 yet.
I've probably seen about half of like 12. I think
Yeah.
I probably watched that up to the scene and then stopped. Real.
Unfortunately, we're gonna have to suffer through one of the worst scenes in cinema history in Ocean's
Uh-huh.
12. It's it's bad. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't really have words for it, but that's kind of my concern. Maybe outside of 8, because it seems from the outside that Ocean's 8 was kind of a revitalization of the series, where it's like, all right, we're gonna do something really cool and really different, and kind of focus on something different here. But I think that's one of my concerns here. For we're only covering 4 movies, but how long we sort of avoided that with the Fast Saga, where it's like, oh,
Uh-huh.
it just keeps getting better and better. All right, somehow we're just doing better here. How long does this series go until you're just sort of like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't have made a 13, because maybe we didn't need to do that. So,
But I think this is one of those franchises though that suffered from the sequelitis,
mhm.
where like at the time, can't blame them for making a 13 because at the time the only thing that was doing big numbers was sequels.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, it's Hollywood. They've learned their lesson. Sequels do big numbers compared to original IPs.
right, right. And now we'll just do remakes.
I mean, there's
Yeah,
a reason why Avatar has been talked about for the past 20 years, the sequel.
that's that's right. Yikes. Well, and looking here, I didn't realize that Ocean's 12 came out in 2004 and 13 came out in 2007. So like every 3 years, you were getting another one of these, and that feels a
Mhm.
little bit fast. So
Tell that to the Fast and Furious franchise, which had like 2 year intervals between
that's
each of
true.
them.
Every November, here we go. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. All right. Any last thoughts here before we go watch the movie?
No, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, it holds up.
Yeah.
Like, I am, as much as I hate to admit this, I have a tendency to watch TV shows over and over again more than I watch movies over and over again.
Yeah, ditto.
And going back to what is widely regarded as a cinema classic should be an interesting check on my opinions. It's good check
Right.
time. Let's see if this is as good as it holds up to.
Well, and I was gonna say it's also thankfully not 2.5 hours, but I just looked and it's 117 minutes. So curses. Oh boy.
Screw you, Boston.
Yeah. All right. Let's go watch the movie.
Yep.
Welcome back. We have watched the movie, the 11th Ocean's movie, Danny Ocean's Saga. We have
Uh-huh.
finished the film. A little bit longer of a film than I think I was remembering.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Not not a bad thing, but just kind of there's a lot of ground to cover, I think is the way to put it.
That might be the best way to put it. Yeah, I mean, it's like let's just kick this thing off with a bang straight away.
Sure.
I adore the director of photography of this movie, whoever that
Yeah.
may be, because the shot composition and the lighting in this movie are so unique. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
I get it. I know now straight away from like 4 scenes in, I was like, okay, I know why everybody loves this movie,
Right.
regardless of the plot, which is a little bit rote at this point, but at the time it was kind of good.
Sure.
But the lighting, the shots, the conversations, there's so much in there that's just like really, really well done. Like,
Yeah, and it the way it's shot, just it's one of those movies that just looks cool. Like everybody looks cool, and all the every scene is cool. They're doing cool stuff, and it just like how it's shot just looks everything just looks it reminds me a lot of why people love Cowboy Bebop. It's like everything's just so cool. Like it
mm,
just it has that aesthetic to it.
yeah, I mean, like just some of the lighting, like when Danny and Rusty meet at the bar,
Hmm.
and they're having a conversation about potentially having a job. or putting together a job, I should say. And it's like half of the screen is black because they're next to a wall, and it's like the separate sides of their faces are all black, and the
Mm-hmm.
rest of their faces there's like golden yellow light coming in, and then
Yeah.
like that's right after the prison scenes where it's all stark white and very brightly lit. It's like the shot composition in this, and I'm not someone who notices that stuff, for the record, folks.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't care about that stuff usually, but they just put so much together in like the way they move, the lighting is, and the way the shots are put together. It's just so good.
Mm-hmm.
And then the dialogue feels so fantastically done as well, because every single thing about this feels natural.
Yeah, and it feels really snappy without it feeling like a movie from the 40s where everyone's like speaking at 120 miles an hour.
Mhm.
And it I think the thing that I was surprised by this time on this rewatch is how kind of quickly it feels like they put the whole team together, a precision team of drivers together. Um,
Yes.
but that's like half of the movie.
Oh yeah. It feels like they do it so quickly,
Yeah.
but they really, really don't. Like it's shocking how it feels quick, we should
Yeah.
probably say.
And there's like 15 of them, and it moves at a fairly good clip. But it's kind of funny that it's like, okay, cool, like they got the whole team together. All right. I look at the time and I'm like, oh, it's like an hour and 15 minutes. What's happening here?
Hmm.
Um, which makes sense because the whole second half of the movie is the heist. Um,
Yes.
I feel like this is the first time I was really watching it, trying to look for all the fingerprints of the heist.
Hmm.
Because once you have seen it, you're like, oh yeah, like you can see it coming from a mile away the second time. But really, the only time that they mention it is when someone says like, oh, we're building a copy of the vault. And they said, oh, for practice? And I think it's Rusty that says something like that.
No, it's Danny. Danny says that.
Oh, Danny, yeah.
Rusty asks, "Is it for if it's for practice?" And Danny's like, "Kind of."
Yeah, and I think that's really the only, like, squinting eyes moment, like, what's going on here? Because
Yeah,
even when Danny gets kicked, quote unquote, kicked out of the group, even that is sort of like, you don't see anything going on, because it's like, yeah, man, like, you're in this for the wrong reasons, and you sort of got foolhardy, and yeah, the group's gonna kick you out because you're a liability.
yeah, and they're right to do so. Obviously,
Right.
it's intended to be that way.
Yeah.
Um, shall we talk about the cast?
Yeah, everybody in cinema appears in this movie. I I forgot how much I like. Number one, I forgot how much I like both George Clooney and Brad Pitt in movies. I feel like I haven't
Mhm.
seen either of them in anything for a while. To be fair, don't watch a lot of movies, which is why we're doing a lot of movies on this show. Um,
Yes.
but man, are the two of them great.
Well, I mean, Brad Pitt was in that Ad Astra sci-fi movie, which was a bomb like last year, I believe,
That's true. I forgot about
because
that.
nobody
Yeah.
cared about it. I'm pretty sure he's in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Last time I saw
Right.
him was in Deadpool 2.
Okay. A film I have not yet seen.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So there's that. But I mean, this is Brad Pitt before he was Brad Pitt.
Yeah, like I feel like he had done 12 Monkeys at this point, so like he had done some of
He
the
did.
weirder stuff, but I think was this pre-Fight Club?
Nope, this was after Fight Club.
Okay,
Once
so this is like
I'm pulling up
his
his list right now.
yeah, this is like
Um,
continuing his meteoric rise.
yeah, I mean, he'd done Seven, he'd done 12 Monkeys,
Okay.
he'd done Fight Club, he'd done Snatch, which he's incredible in
Oh
Snatch.
yeah, he's good in Snatch, yeah.
But that's a lot of indie movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like then he did the Mexican Spy Game.
Mexican is
Then
so good. Oh man.
yeah,
Nobody's seen
then
that movie and it's so good.
yeah, and then there's this, and I feel this was the thing that I think he's always been a good actor. Like, I
Oh yeah,
genuinely do. I think he's always been a great actor. I think this was the movie that put him into the stratosphere, and then he started getting those incredibly terrible, huge budget movies.
yeah,
The next thing after this that he was really in was Troy
yeah. Whoops.
and Babel
Oh, I didn't even remember that one.
and Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
I have a soft spot for that movie, but it's not
I do
great.
too. It's not great, but it's a big budget, huge budget considering the
Yeah,
two lead stars. Like,
yeah,
really schlocky action movie.
yeah. And George Clooney, I feel like was already a household name at this point. You know, especially from
Mhm.
ER. Everyone's like, George Clooney is so hot. George Clooney, but
Yeah, like he would. I think at this point he'd already made the transition from TV show to, you know, movie guy.
yeah.
I mean,
I
he's
mean,
been
you
in
have
so much stuff.
like Bernie Mac playing Frank in a role that I feel like in a lot of other movies he would be the comedic relief and he'd just be doing like his stand-up comedy routine. But in this movie it's like, yeah, he's gonna be sort of your charming guy that's working the floor, but not
Hmm.
he's not gonna be in it as much as you expect Bernie Mac to be in it.
Yeah. What's that guy's name? Chris something? The little fella who's in all of the comedies. He stars with The Rock a lot.
Oh,
You know who I'm talking about.
yep, that guy. Yep.
Yeah, he was literally in the last Fast and Furious movie
Yeah,
we
I was
watched.
just thinking, like, God, he was in Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes, can't remember
In
his name.
yeah, in the world's longest airplane scene, he was
Uh-huh.
he was in there. Yeah. Uh, Elliot Gould, I think, is a really great casting as Ruben. Um,
Yes,
he's his
the money behind it.
yeah, and like just like this foul mouthed, like when Linus is the only one that doesn't go in the house, and he's just like, "Hey man, how you doing? Like, how's everything? Go, just get in the house." It's just
Yeah.
like it's just like I'm making small talk. I don't really care. Get in the house. Like,
Hmm.
I just really like that he tries to be the voice of reason, and it's like this is impossible. Like you're doing the dumb thing. You're doing the wrong thing. You shouldn't be doing this. And he's like, and what casinos were you gonna hit? And I was like, oh, these three. And it's like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah.
You son of a bee, I'm in.
As soon as it's Avengers time, like, yeah, he's in.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, say what you want about the other one of the Afflecks being in this movie. It's another Affleck and Damon special.
Yeah, it's like the Casey Affleck and Scott Conn, the duo of them being
The
like
two brothers, they play so well off each other.
yeah, like it genuinely does feel like two brothers that just they can't stop messing with each other, and
Hmm.
it really does feel great where it's like they can turn that chaos on and off if they need to, to do some infiltration stuff. The balloon scene, there's stuff like that where they can cause that chaos, but when they don't need to, they can't stop messing with each other, and I think that's really great.
Yeah, like I love them. And as little as her role is in this movie, and I think it's a disappointment that it is, I think Julia Roberts is fantastic.
Yeah, I think she's really solid in this. For it feels really good that she's so cold to George Clooney,
Hmm.
because it's like, yeah, man, like you had a chance and you messed up, and now you're here, and come on, we all know why that is. Like, let's not not
Yeah.
try and convince me that you're here just to have a little bit of fun on the Vegas Strip.
Hmm.
And I think her turn on Benedict at the end feels really good because it's just this
It
like,
feels natural. It doesn't feel like it's forced in any way, shape, or form. It feels natural.
yeah, because it feels like it's the straw that broke the camel's back of, you never have time for me, and now you don't even hesitate when someone's like, would you give her up for some info? And he's like, yeah, man. It's like
Yep.
you didn't even think about that, like
No
just.
hesitation, no nothing.
And except for one scene, I really, really like Andy Garcia as
I was
Benedict.
gonna say he pulls off that villain so well. Like I haven't
Yep.
seen a lot with Andy Garcia in it, but he nails that sinister, like, undercurrent of violence underneath everything he says.
Well, and part of why I like him is because so much of what drives him isn't personal. It's just like I have this well-oiled machine to run, and as long as I can run it on my terms, that's fine. As soon as there's a speed bump in my way, I'm removing it. Or like
Mm-hmm.
anybody who sort of threatens the casino or his money or anything like that. I think the only scene that sort of is a little weird is when he is threatening, or when he thinks he's threatening Rusty on the phone at the end, and he's like, I will hunt you down, I'll take your family, your business, and all that. Like, it's one of those weird things where it's like, I feel like throughout the movie, there's so many tall tales about Terry Benedict, about like
Mm-hmm.
taking over Rubin's casinos and shutting down someone's truck rental business because someone like three branches related to them messed up. I feel like they didn't need to have that scene because you knew what Benedict was gonna do. Um,
Yeah.
and it one of those sort of weird things. I do. Oh God.
I was just gonna say, like, I'm not gonna lie. I hated him when he first came about. I wasn't a fan of his acting. He has since changed my mind on him.
Mm,
But Matt Damon, he's
yeah.
pretty he's understated in this, but understated in the perfect way for the character that he plays. Like
Yeah.
the inexperience thing, like the fact that he can pull out the best lift he's seen all day, like when George Clooney's got his hand on the ticket, which full credit for that one.
Yeah.
Like the guy who's got the skills but no real impetus to use it, like Matt Damon for me is a fantastic piece of this movie because he is us. He is the
Yeah.
outsider being introduced to everything. He is the audience kind of portrayal into this world. And I hated him at this point when this movie came out. Like I
Mm,
was not a fan of him in the slightest. I've since come around on him and I actually think he is genuinely one of the best actors out there at the moment.
yeah.
And the simple fact that he can lean in and love the whole Matt Damon thing and
Yeah.
will do that impression on request, by the way.
Nice.
Like the fact that he's got that opinion of himself, like he knows that side of it where he's willing to lean into it.
Hmm.
He's understated one of the best performances in this.
Yeah, and I feel like the movie does it for a specific reason that he doesn't really have a large role in it up until it goes undercover as the California, like the Nevada gambling board
Mm-hmm.
member, and like the way that he just turns that whole thing around and does like the perfect lift out of Benedict's pocket, and like that whole thing where he's playing this bumbling, like accidentally racist but not really sort of guy in the face of
Mm-hmm.
Bernie Mac being really over the top. Like it's really, his performance is really really good.
Yeah, it's shocking how great he is in this.
Yeah.
And like we said, like he is understated, but it's shocking how good he is understated.
Hmm.
Um, all in all, I mean, I enjoyed the movie. Obviously, I
Yeah,
knew
me
the
too.
twist was coming. I didn't feel disappointed by the fact that I knew the twist was coming, which is something that can happen with a lot of movies. Like, I will not go back and watch The Sixth Sense because I don't
Sure.
care. I know the ending. I know the twist. I've
Right.
seen it 5 times now, and I don't want to go back and rewatch it. Like, I just don't.
Yeah.
Um, but watching this, it wasn't a case of I need to, pay super duper attention to it. But I did because, like I said, like the performances are really solid from pretty much everybody.
Yep.
The plot itself is whatever. Like
It's a heist movie at this point. Like I feel like
it's so the problem is 2020 and this came out in 2001 and heist movies weren't really a big thing.
right.
Like
And
now that it feels like you get two every year.
I part of the thing that's so great about this movie is I feel like once they show that the heist didn't happen but also is happening at the same time, like it's so great as the pieces start to come together then, and then they sort of continue to come together as the rest of the movie plays out, and then there's this one of my favorite scenes in the movie is the really there's no dialogue, but like all the 11 are in front of that water fountain.
Fun fact, by the way, 2 fun facts about this movie. Number 1, George Clooney sent Julia Roberts a copy of the script with a $20 bill saying, with a handwritten note saying, "I heard you get 20 a movie now," because she was getting $20 million a movie at that point.
That's great.
Never having met her before, by the way.
Okay.
And number 2, that scene specifically, Steven Soderbergh, the director, literally put them all in front of the fountain and said, "This guy leaves first, this guy leaves last, everybody else, wander away when you think the characters would."
Cool. That's cool.
So all of it except for the first and the last one was improv.
Right. That's cool. And it's such a great scene because so much of this movie is like rapid fire, fast talking, jump cut to another scene where we're doing now an infiltration, and they had just like fake shot up a hallway and blew up a vault, and then it's just this quiet thing and then kind of a quiet ending, which leads into the final shot that I genuinely didn't remember, with the 2 bodyguards following the car as they're leaving the prison, which I didn't remember that shot for some. I remember pretty much everything else, but that was kind of a fun thing where it's like, wait a minute, then credits.
Yeah, I remember the sequel setup because they weren't sure if they were going to do another one. Spoiler alert for Critical Misses, they did, and so will we.
For the next episode. Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, I thought it was executed pretty solidly. Like, from start to finish, don't get me wrong, it's not the greatest movie ever made, especially in 2020. Like we said, the plots are very rote at this point. It's all about how you get there. It's about the journey, not about the destination.
That's right.
But the execution of it is so good on so many fronts.
Yeah.
Like, performances, directing, acting, like the lighting, the scene composition. There's so much to love about this movie. I believe friend of the show Mackie is a huge fan of Steven Soderbergh. In fact, his favorite movie is Out of Sight, which was one of Soderbergh's earlier ones. I've never seen that movie, but I could kind of see from this what he might be talking about.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was a George Clooney movie as well.
Probably. I feel like I've seen that, but not in probably 20 years. Yeah, I agree. I feel like this is by no means a bad movie, and it's not, one of the best movies I've ever seen. It's just kind of one of those really solid, super well done movies. It's one of those where, this is going to sound worse than it is, but it's one of those movies that, like, why it plays on TBS all the time. Because it's just kind of a really solid movie that pretty much everybody's going to enjoy. And it has like one of those Bioshockian twists where it lands and then kind of everything starts falling into place. And that's just really satisfying to watch and to go through. I don't know how much more I have to say about the movie other than it's really good, and I'm glad we're going back to it because I'm glad that I fondly remembered this movie, and going through it and watching it again, it's like, yeah, that's still a really good movie. It's not one of my favorite movies of all time, but that's a really good ride. That's a good thing. Yeah,
and looking forward as well to like two sequels which are potentially not as good as this one, including the worst scene in Hollywood history.
God, I'm just not looking forward to the next episode. That couple of minutes in the next movie.
Yeah, I might go make a cup of tea when that happens.
Yeah.
And then a reboot, which from everything I've heard is a solidly good reboot.
And I like a lot of the actresses in 8. So I'm looking forward to, I don't think I've seen a minute of that movie, so I'm super excited to see that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I'm especially excited to watch 12 next week just to see. I don't really remember much about it other than the aforementioned scene.
It's so kind of because that's literally the thing that everybody remembers about it, not the heist, not
just like
I think it's
scene.
in Venice, maybe, but we'll get there.
Yeah. So I'm sort of excited to watch the next one. So thanks everyone for tuning in and listening, and we'll see you all for the next movie. Bye.
Bye.